Hello, Cpac. So great to see you again. So great to see you again here in Hungary. This is the world's best, greatest conservative conference. And when we conservative gathers, we speak about a lot of things, fighting for what is right, fighting for justice, freedom. But ultimately, all of us who have families, kids, we know that in the end, we fight for a better world for our children to grow up in. And this is what this panel is going to be about, the family. One thing we are doing here at Cpac Hungary is trying to showcase some important Hungarian success stories. Our family policies have been adapted in many countries. I would like to ask you, Agnes, how would you describe the core principles that underlie Hungary's family policies?
Thank you very much, and I would like to welcome everything, and thanks for the possibility to be on stage and a little bit give some highlights on Hungarian family policy that started 13 years ago. And basically it has two main fundamental elements. One, that we called the family policy turnaround. This is the change of mindset. We would like to emphasize to the nation that family is the basic, and everything grows from the families. So we have to strengthen the families. And the second element of the family policy, of course, the measures. During these 13 years, we introduced more than 30 measures helping the families in the whole life path, starting from babies, youngsters, young parents, elder people. So these more than 30 elements of the Hungarian family policy measures cover the whole life path, and three main pillars it has. One is that we would like every desired child to be born. This is the most important. Second one, we would like to give financial stability to the families. And the third one, we would like to give freedom of choice to the families to enable them to be at home with the kids if they would like to, or they can go back to the labor force if they would like to. I think, in very brief, this is the magic.
Thank you, that's excellent. Ernst, it's not always that we welcome a prominent leader of civil society from Africa. And I would like to ask you to talk about the state of the family in South Africa, because I've heard that among several problems, unfortunately, the disintegration of the traditional family also arises.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you for welcoming us in your city, and thank you also for giving the Afrikaner community, or the Boers as we are also known, representation at this platform. South Africa, as you would know, was the focus of the world's attention in the 80s and the early 90s. And then the story is that we have achieved this miracle in the transition that have happened after the Berlin Wall, the fall of the Berlin Wall, and ever since, it seems the world has stopped paying attention to South Africa. And an interesting thing is that where the fall of the Berlin Wall, and I'll bring this to families now, but where the fall of the Berlin Wall signaled a communism being discredited in much of the world, in South Africa, it signaled the advent of communism or socialism. And so South Africa is very relevant, and we believe that the world will be focusing on South Africa more in the years to follow for two reasons. The one is the failing or the failure of South Africa, which is measurable on every conceivable measure. And then also, which says to us that the ideas that underpinned this new South Africa seem to have been wrong. And the other reason why it's very significant is the communities, such as ours and some others, who are still able to flourish in these hostile circumstances where we are being discriminated against. And the reason why we do this, or the reason why we are able to do this, is through strong institutions and strong families. And to get to your question, South Africa has a very big problem in terms of family structure and healthy families. I read a recent news report in one of the main outlets in South Africa, which said, here's the title, the heading to this news report is, only 25% of children are part of a nuclear family, and it's not a bad thing. So South Africa is, but the thing is, South Africa is diverse. We have many different communities. Some communities, such as ours, have very strong family structures, and we believe this is the reason why we are successful. And some communities are completely deteriorated in family structures, and there's a direct correlation between the prospect of the community in terms of its cultural richness and success and the health of their family structures.
Thank you. We started in Europe, moved on to Africa. Now let's travel to Asia. Jcu, or Mr. Cpac, Japan. The Japanese traditional family has an almost legendary status, including in European or Western culture. There books have been written about this. What is the current state of the family, the traditional family in Japan?
はい、日本はいわゆる第二次世界大戦の前までは本当に結構田舎を中心に大家族ですね、いわゆる夫婦と子供という世帯だけでなくって、おじいちゃんおばあちゃんと一緒に住んで子育てをそのおじいちゃんおばあちゃんが手伝うというスタイルで子供をどんどん増やしていくというのが非常に伝統的な家族のスタイルだったんですが、特に戦後経済の復興とともにご主人にあたる人たちがですね、結構会社員サラリーマンのスタイルでいろんなところで仕事をどんどん転々としながら転勤していくために、家族の構成というのもおのずといわゆる夫婦とそれから子供だけというスタイルで行ったり、さらにはお母さんを残して旦那さんだけが単身赴任で出かけるというようなスタイルにどんどんなっていったために、家族の数というものがおのずと減りました。したがっておじいちゃんおばあちゃん一緒に子育てをしていたような世帯であれば5人6人と子どもたちはいたんですけれども、本当に今では多くて2人、出生率が日本ではだいたい世帯あたり 1.9 人2人を切っちゃってるんですけれども、そのように少子化にもつながるような加速的に良くない方向に進んでいるというのが日本の現状です。
Thank you. The following questions I would like to ask to all of you and let you discuss the matter as raised. I think I am well old enough to remember a time when protecting kids and supporting families was not a left versus right issue. Socialists, conservatives, liberals agreed at least in one thing, that family is an entirely valuable human institution that produces or gives the best chance for children to grow up into healthy, happy, prosperous adults. What went wrong? Why do we suddenly have to fight these fights with the left?
Well, thank you. If I can start, I think I would say part of the problem, if the question is what went wrong, I would say the answer is a very long answer, and there are many things that went wrong. But I think one of the most important aspects thereof is the world has become too consumed by ideology. And I don't think, and it's also, I think, a lesson for the conservative movement and something that we ought to take to heart, that our struggle, to use that term currently, should not be one of choosing which ideology is best. Because at its core, an ideology is a theory that seeks to tell us how the world ought to be constructed. And so our choice should rather be one between ideology on the one hand and a recognition of reality and human nature on the other hand. And as we know, families are, if we talk about human nature and nature, then families is the very core of human nature, that as Aristotle has said, and all these ancient Greeks and these ancient philosophers, and many through the ages have said, that we are by definition family creatures. We are given our identity by our families, but we have, especially since the Enlightenment, and a lot of good things came out of the Enlightenment, but since the Enlightenment, the world has become consumed by pursuit of different ideologies. And an ideology such as individualism taken to the extreme has led to a situation where we regard ourselves primarily as individuals that can easily be detached from our communities and our families, as if our identity and who we are is not shaped by our families and our communities in a way that cannot be disconnected. But we seem to believe, in terms of these modern ideologies, that we can simply disconnect the individual from his community and his family. And that, taken to the extreme, I would say, is one of the big reasons why there's such an assault on families today.